When Nelson Mandela and his generation came into the African National Congress and ultimately formed the ANC Youth League in 1944, President Mandela, A.P. Mda, Mtolis Majombozi, Walter Sisulu, O.R. Tambo, Anton Limbede, who was elected the first president of the Youth League, they came together and said, this form of struggle against the brutal regime will not bring freedom. We cannot fight armed people with letters. We need to take up arms and fight. President Mandela called for the training of members of the ANC. The Youth League, after being formed in 1949, it went to the then president of the ANC, Dr. Kuma, and said to President Kuma, we've got a program of action. This program of action, amongst others, it includes armed struggle, international solidarity, mass mobilization, underground operation. They were talking to a gentleman who said to them, it is not possible. But because Dr. Kuma was a Democrat who allowed ideas to be tested with structures of the ANC, he did not expel them from the ANC. He allowed them to participate. He even allowed them into that conference. And he thought Dr. Kuma, because he was a president and they were young, he thought they were going to be rejected. He said, bring your program of action here, Madiba. Let's see, between me and you, who the branches will choose. Branches chose the program of action of Nelson Mandela. And the branches in the same Congress removed Dr. Kuma and elected a new member of the ANC, James Morocco. There is an argument that actually was not a member. But Walter Sisulu says, no, I paid for his membership at the door. They took James Morocco, who had very little knowledge about the ANC. But the membership of the ANC in the whole country had declined at that time. If the records are correct, we had more or less than 3,000 members. And when James Morocco became the president and adopted the program of action of the Youth League and went to the ground to mobilize the people, the ANC within that period had more than 100,000 members and structures all over because of the program of action of the Youth League. There came a time when they had to now go and take up arms. People were scared. People thought it is not real to take up arms. President Mandela left the country to receive the military training. He was the first Mkhonto Wesizwe trained cadre. There is still a debate, Jawis here, whether MK was a decision of the ANC or not. Because when they were busy debating, Mandela left. He went to be trained and came back, recruited others. President Mandela was told in one of the ANC meeting that you are too adventurous. You like things, you like talking, you don't know what you are talking about. It will never happen. But President Mandela also told them then that I'm going to be the first president of a democratic South Africa. But again, you are dreaming now. The same things we are telling you all the time. You are starting. Firstly, President Mandela, during his young ages, he used to disrupt the meetings of the Communist Party. He was a well-trained boxer and used to engage also differently if you can't persuade each other. Communist Party meetings were disrupted. He used to turn tables in the meetings of the Communist Party until Mtate Kotane took time to go to President Mandela's house. Mtate Kotane took him through. Mtate Kotane was never impatient with him. Ndate Kotane never called for the head of Madiba. As a true communist, he knew and understood that the responsibility of a communist is to educate politically and win over those who've got different views. You don't call for the slaughtering of the young. You don't kill them young and destroy their future. President Mandela served in prison for many years. But because Madiba was a militant, committed revolutionary, even when it was difficult, he never surrendered. He never begged for his release. The Boers asked him many times that we want to release you, but we are going to release you on condition you are going to stop the struggle in South Africa. We are going to release you on condition you will no longer participate in the ANC. He told them that that will not happen. The struggle is my life. And if you release me, I'm going to continue that struggle. And he was criticized that prisoners cannot negotiate their freedom. But there was nobody negotiating the freedom. The ANC in exile was suffering from political lie. In the country, it was worse. That's why Krisani and others stood up in the camps and said, we are not here for a holiday. We are here to train and go back home. There is no agenda. There is no clear program on when are we going to fight the enemy at home. Our comrades are dying here. Krisani was charged for standing up and saying, we are not here for a holiday. We are not here to sleep under trees. We are here to be trained, and mobilized others. He wrote a memorandum and sent the memorandum to the leadership. Chris was charged. Chris was found guilty for saying the ANC cannot be on a holiday. The 1976 generation, after the Kabyo went to exile, when they went into exile, they told those elders in exile, we are not here for a holiday. Our friends, our relatives were killed. Can you train us? We want to go back. Many of those young people were killed in the camps for being firm, for demanding training, for demanding arms to go back and fight. Most of them were actually accused of being sent out. We know who was leading that intelligence committee that said people were spies and had to be slaughtered. That's what happened. There are people who boast to you that they've been to MK, they are commanders and all that, but some of them don't know how AK is operated. If they operated it, it was just in Latin, without the enemy. They've never pointed the real AK-47 to the enemy. When leaders were in prison, when leaders were underground, when leaders were in exile, the only remaining leader who identified with the struggle of the African National Congress was Winnie Mandela. Winnie Mandela, they call names today. Winnie Mandela, they call a danger to the ANC. Winnie Mandela, that is insulted by young, emerging politicians who came into cabinet through questionable methods. They want to tell us today that they are the best cadres of the ANC. Mama Winnie should always be mentioned when we talk about the life of President Mandela. For simple reason that President Mandela, without a strong woman, he was not going to be what he is today. If he had a weaker woman. Some people give lectures and they jump the period of the marriage between Mama Winnie and President Mandela. When they were fighting Polokwane in Toyando, where a lecture was delivered, or what was supposed to be a lecture was delivered. And people went there to read Long Walk to Freedom and said it's a lecture, reading, and without acknowledging that they actually summarized the Long Walk to Freedom. I did not hear the mention of the marriage of Mama Winnie and President Mandela. Struggle and revolution has always been an activity of the youth. And the youth never minded what the elders say, because the elders say what they say because they have accepted out of age that for so many years they have lived, these things have been like this, and from the look of things, they will not change. And if you want to go with them, you are becoming an elder also at an early age. Every time you speak, you want to speak like a matured person who's reasonable. It cannot be. The youth must be youth. Because if you want to become old when you are young, you are a fake. You are not a real young person. You want to dress like an old person. You are always in time. When we elect you president of the SRC, all of a sudden, you think you are so reasonable. You want to be in a tie.